Welcome to the latest webcast in Caring.com's Digital Marketing Academy. Our session today is focused on the importance of visual content in your senior living or senior care marketing and how to do it well. I'm Denise Grob, a marketing director here at Caring.com, and I'm joined by Emily A. Hay of Hey There Social Media, who I'll introduce more in just a moment. You can see her in the video. And before we dive into the presentation, though, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. This is a one-way webcast where only the presenters are speaking. However, we want you to engage. We want your questions. You can ask via chat or the Q&A module. We'll have a Q&A at the end. And the number one question we get with every session is whether or not we're recording, and we'll share the slides. The answer is yes to both of those questions. You may see a red dot flashing on your screen. We are recording the session and we will be providing the slides. You'll get an email tomorrow morning. And we host our webinars on partners.caring.com in our webinar archive there. Now, the sponsor of today's free webinar is Caring.com. For those of you who are getting to know us, and as a refresher for our partners, our organization was founded by caregivers for caregivers. Our flagship website, Caring.com, was created and launched in 2007 to equip family caregivers to make better decisions, save time and money, and feel less alone, and really less stressed in providing senior care to their loved ones. Today, millions of people come to our websites, including the seniors themselves, to get referred to senior living communities and home care agencies. In fact, we have one of the most comprehensive senior living and senior care directories on the web. We're the #1 source of senior care reviews online, and we have more than 265,000 consumer reviews posted today, and we add thousands every month. A couple years ago, we were acquired by Caring Holdings LLC, a group of investors with over a decade of digital marketing expertise. This transaction enabled us to continue and expand our services to seniors and their families, while also remaining a crucial strategic partner for senior living communities and home care agencies nationwide. We are excited to have Emily A. Hay here today, the founder of Hey There Social Media, a company delivering social media marketing services to a variety of B2C businesses locally and nationally. With a background in marketing and sales career in corporate America, Emily paved her own way using social media as her vehicle back in 2010, when even large companies were just testing the social media waters then. Emily and the team at Hey There Social Media pride themselves on authentically connecting clients with their target audiences on social media because they are members of the audience. Some specialties include social media strategy, content creation, community management, online customer service, paid social, and social metrics. The team there delivers measurable results for their clients, and the experience touches the senior living industry. Emily has contributed regularly to business radio. She's a public speaker. A lot of expertise you're about to hear here. And at Caring, I've had the pleasure of working with her over the years, starting back in 2012 when she was helping a major senior living organization with their online reputation and review responses. Really thrilled to have her present for you today. Here is an overview of what she's going to cover. She will start with how to approach your visual content creation. She'll cover better visuals, the why, the how, the what. She'll cover formats of visual content. And then toward the end, stick around, I'm going to give you some really important tips and release new data for the first time about photos on Caring profiles. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. Oh, and there will be a special offer from Emily as well. So you want to stick around for that. Okay, without further ado, Emily A. Hay.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, Denise, could there be a more lovely intro? I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for the intro you gave me. And thank you all for spending some of your morning or your afternoon with us here, as visual content is something that is very near and dear to my heart, and a promise to make it worth your time today. So thank you very much for teeing everything up, Denise, and starting right out. Let's jump in. So I will say, just to keep in mind that for any of you that did attend our April webinar where we talked about content marketing, That particular webinar was focused on written content and an overall content strategy. So not a prerequisite for today, but there are some points that I will refer back to in April. And so with the April webinar, it was about shaking up your content snow globe. And we talked about how content marketing done right isn't just about posting about National Donut Day. So today, I want you to think about visual content done right. And it's not just about having a higher resolution photo of donuts to post on National Donut Day. Visual quality is hugely important to visual content, but it's not enough. And so today, that's something I want you to keep in mind because we will talk about the big picture approach and work our way down into the tactical of how to get that better visual content. So again, I'm here today to stretch your mind and invite you to think a little differently, because unless you think differently, you won't see different results. So kicking us off with that content marketing umbrella, just to recap again, two particular formats of content, written and visual. So today, here we go as we talk about photos and videos, memes, GIFs. Again, it's not just about a better quality photo. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so back to who are you talking to? I'm a firm advocate in really getting almost obsessed with who you're talking to. It makes so much of your content creation strategy more effective and more fun. And this is Mary. I'm sure this is an avatar that you are quite familiar with by now. I think this is a lovely profile of Mary because it's very robust and it's very evergreen. And so one of the things I think about today, when you think about speaking to Mary, is it's important to go and look at what her life is like today. So on the next slide, let's talk a little bit about what her life is like today from a visual standpoint. So if her life, here's Mary, right? She lives a very stressed life. She lives a busy life. In all honesty, it's probably stressed and busy in the best of times, but we're still in that tail end of a pandemic. And so Mary is taxed at every angle. You know, she has caregiving demands of her own children. She probably has work demands. She has caregiving demands of potentially her aging parents. So to say that she's stressed and busy, she's also probably neglecting her own needs. I mean, we as caregivers know that that's what happens. We put our needs to the back burner. And so it's important to think about what Mary's life could benefit from. So again, I invite you just to think about this. Her life could use some calmness. She could use some time back in her day. So Mary needs information quickly. And with regards to Mary putting her own needs on the back burner, any business, person, brand, or otherwise that helps her feel cared for really sticks with her. And this is an important thing when you think about the pandemic, because I'm being honest, the bar is very low for self-care. So even for Mary to feel a sense of calmness from visual content, you are going to be memorable to her. All right, next slide, please. Okay, I'll give you guys a minute just to look at these visuals. So this is a very subjective question, but when we think about Mary, what visuals is she drawn to? You might have heard the term a mood board. A mood board is a term that businesses will often use as a visual way to communicate the emotions and the feelings that they want to evoke from their customers. So when I look at these visuals, I want you to see clean, simple, bright, cheerful, soothing. In fact, this one on the far left, it's a little hard to read, but it does say throw love around like confetti. I mean, if that doesn't make you smile, I don't know what will. The picture in the middle, there's that bright, simple background, a calm cup of coffee that she probably hasn't had time to enjoy a long time. Again, what is that feeling that's being evoked from these pictures? And then on the far right, this visual is really kind of interesting. It's bright, it's bold, but there's a lot going on. And even though on its own, it's kind of visually intriguing, it certainly doesn't evoke that same sense of calmness and brightness as perhaps the other two visuals. So again, you can just stop and think, even if you personally like this background, it might not be the best background for visual content from your community. Okay, so Mary's life being busy, keeping in mind the info that she needs. With very limited time, it needs to be spent wisely. And I think of Mary as being someone who appreciates it if you save her time. And if you can take something off her to-do list, she's going to feel gratitude. So these side-by-side posts, there's a lot of info in them. And this is a meme. We will talk about that in a bit. But when I think of the most important message here, it's that senior living enhances the quality of life. Plain and simple, that's something you could have Mary learn from you. And that speaks right to maybe any potential guilt that Mary might be feeling about moving an aging loved one into a particular senior living community or a certain home care agency. So with senior living enhancing the quality of life, it's bold and it's right there for her to, it stops the scroll. Like she sees it, she reads it, she digests it, it sticks with her, it leaves her with a positive feeling. And you can see on the left that just having one additional sentence before the, but did you know that senior living enhances the quality of life? You've lost her. When you close your eyes, honestly, ask yourself which one of these two sticks with you. So again, you're helping her save time, helping her digest information, and leaving her better off than she was before she saw it. Okay, it's no surprise, visuals do stick with us. So when people hear information, they're likely to remember only 10% of it 3 days later. But as soon as you pair a visual with that same exact information, 65% of the information is retained. So again, we are visual creatures, and it's really important to keep that in mind. Back to Mary's life, right? The lacking self-care, neglecting her own needs. This again is something that if you think of your visual content as an invitation, when you host a party or a tour, you invite people in, you make them feel welcomed, you make them feel special. And your visual content, you might think it doesn't have that impact, but it absolutely does. And it could make the difference between Mary feeling like I'm just going to call them versus I'm going to go ahead and schedule that tour. Okay, with your content, how does visual content make her feel? So when we see something, we often don't remember what it said, but we do remember how it made us feel. And even that meme with senior living enhances the quality of life, even if I didn't remember that exact sentence, I know that it made me feel calm. It took one of my concerns right off the table, that maybe it would compromise the quality of life for my mom or dad. So when you think about how content makes you feel, did your community's content make Mary feel anxious, empowered, inadequate, well prepared? So depending on your answer to this, your community has an opportunity to be very memorable to her. And you can also solidify yourself as a trusted resource in her personal inner circle. All right, how many times have you heard this one? Remember, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. We talked about this in April, that you wouldn't show up as a different version of yourself at every event you went to. You want to portray who you are truly, consistently. And if you don't do that, no one will remember you, and they certainly will not get to trust you. Okay, we're moving down from big picture into some of the tactical here. So let's cover the why. Why is it important to have better visuals? Well, similar to what I said about being a consistent version of yourself, you want to present the best version of yourself, and you certainly wouldn't show up just dressed sloppily. So your visuals, I say, don't phone it in. Don't just give it the that's good enough. You always want to present the best version of yourself. With transparency, okay, transparency is something that is immediately sparked with better visuals. And I don't, again, just mean higher quality. I mean the content of the visual. Better visuals will lead to a more feeling of transparency, because social media has definitely swayed brands to have to be more transparent, right? People expect brands, businesses, they expect others to be the same version of themselves offline and online. So, in the beginning of social media, the trend was very much cookie cutter, stock images, boardroom photos. But there's been this vibe to come as you are because that's who you are. And it's really important to still have professionally produced, best foot forward visuals. But I just want to point out that the reason behind this is really to be transparent, and that in turn builds trust. Okay, how do you do that? Photo shoots. This, continuing off from the last point, there is a huge difference between a posed professional marketing photo shoot, again, to get those hero images for your website. But with a lifestyle shoot, that's something that you hear the term storytelling. Again, many of you know, grab pictures from your phone of things happening in your community. Tell the story of a day in the life of what's happening in your community. That's not a new concept. I may be here to tell you that this could be a good time to reconsider hosting a new lifestyle photo shoot. And I'm sure you're all put through the ringer with all the challenges of COVID, and hosting extra humans in your particular community might not have made sense. But again, thinking ahead, that now might be a good time to schedule that lifestyle photo shoot. And going back to perhaps in the past when you had a photo shoot, if you're saying, you know what, Emily, we've done that. We've done that. And we got 600 photos and none of them were usable. Well, I would advise you to be strategic upfront. It takes some heavy lifting and planning with your photographer for what you want to accomplish from that photo shoot, but it makes all the difference in what you get out of that photo shoot. And I joke with my family, I am the drill sergeant when it comes to our family photo shoots because I know what I'm planning to use the photos for, and therefore the photographer and I are right in line for my own family's content. But for your community, you definitely want to do that upfront work because it will yield a better result. Okay, leveraging your content. Important word, leverage. Social media is not a highway. I said this before. Think of social media and even content marketing as a superhighway with people merging on and off all the time. It's not a book. It's not a book with a beginning and a middle and an end. So there's no need to ever really do a one and done with your visual assets. So you can leverage your images in new ways. Now, there's the one point of, okay, Emily, are you saying if we post a picture once, then we can never post that again? No, I actually feel like you can use a photo you've used before again. You might not want to use it the next week or the next month, but again, someone that just started following your community, the superhighway, they might not have seen that image. So we are in such a limited attention span state of being that you can still pull people in and not offend others who possibly have seen that photo before. And again, isn't marketing all about, I think it's 8 or 9 times you have to see something before it even sticks. So again, I want you to get out of a mindset of one and done and look more into, well, how can we leverage this particular visual in multiple ways? It's really working smarter, not harder. Okay, speaking of what to leverage, reviews. I love reviews. Reviews are such valuable pieces of content. They are for so many reasons, but one, you're letting others do the talking for you. So when you think of leveraging reviews, you can break them up to tell different pieces of the story. Again, Mary today, a sentence from this review might resonate with her today than a sentence that would resonate with her in 30 days. So I feel it's really wise to make your reviews very visual, and I'm going to cover a tool for how you can do that, but let me show you on the next slide how you can repackage a review. So in the review, the sentence that stood out to me the most was, like, it jumped right out. They were all so kind, loving, and competent. So my advice to you would be look at your reviews and again, think of what information from those reviews can be pieced out into speaking directly to what Mary wants to know, how Mary wants to feel. And again, there are guidelines to follow for how to repackage the review. So actually, I would ask real quick, Denise, being the review expert you are, is there anything you'd like to add to make sure that everyone is able to follow this formula, for lack of a better word?
Yes, thank you so much. It's important not to copy and paste copyrighted content from reviews websites, whether it's caring.com, Yelp, or Google, but you can excerpt and link to that. So if you share this image, make a meme like this, what Emily is suggesting. In this case, caring.com is a domain, so it is properly sourced, and it's not the entire review. It has the date and it has some credibility signals like the person that gave it. So if I see it, I'm more likely to believe that it's a real consumer review because I see these signals. I see the source, I see the person, I see the date. I can go to caring.com and I can see the full review. And I recommend you include a link to that listing so they can do that. Make it as easy as possible for them. You're using the visual here to draw them in. Thank you, Emily.
Of course, I do love the suggestion to include the link back to that review. Okay, so we talked about some of the why, some of the how, and as for the what, if as we're talking today, you're kind of struggling with, well, what would I have? I highly recommend going back to the April webinar and even just asking yourself these hard questions. We talk about brands thinking about their values, not just what you do, not just how you do it, but the why. And it's very natural to think, okay, visual content, let's focus on sharing our amenities. Let's talk about square footage. Let's talk about the unique selling propositions. And that has a place, but this is bigger. This is really, let's ask the hard questions and do the hard work to get to the answer. And so when I think about values, look at right there, embody honesty, exhibit trustworthiness, and spread positivity as some sample values. Exhibit trustworthiness, if that is one of your company's stated values, that meme about they were so loving, kind, and competent. Mary knows right away who's the they. They is your team. And you are immediately showing how trustworthy they are. And Mary feels like this person trusted your business, and so she would be able to as well. So again, want to connect the dots for you that when you have the answers to the questions, when you consider your values, creating the actual content gets much easier. Okay, so this is our tactical section for today. We're going to talk a little bit about the formats of content. Remember, written content in April, visual today in May. Okay, photos, the most fundamental form of visual content. Photos, they're used in your blogs, your email marketing, all over social media. Let's talk about Facebook in particular. So again, gosh, Facebook's been around for so long now. And Facebook photo albums. I remember, I've done social media for a while, that I remember it was this hot and new feature, and there were ways to optimize the photo albums. Sometimes people ask, well, is that still a thing? The answer is yes, that's still a thing. Photo albums are still very important. And it's about meeting your prospect, meeting Mary where she spends her time. And if she happens to be on Facebook, and you might think, oh, she'll see our photos on our website. Well, if she doesn't ever get to the website, you want to make sure that your Facebook photo albums are organized, that they have the best versions of your photos. And segueing off of Denise's advice to have the link back to a review for your photos. Make sure that your captions have active links. That's still a feature that Facebook offers, that your caption can be an active link that someone can click from. Okay, another thing, timeline posts. Photos are absolutely part of, you upload, you do a post for your timeline on your Facebook page, and you upload an image to go with it. You can always do that on its own. So that meme, you can upload a meme, the one with the testimonial. And you can also, when you share a link, right? When you share a link as a Facebook post, that link is going to automatically generate a preview image from someplace on that web page. So again, you might go, what's that picture from? Facebook gives you kind of the option to scroll through the images from that page, but those are being automatically pulled from whatever link you send. So even if it's the About Us page of your website, it's going to populate an image with that. If you don't think that that image is the best foot forward, then you can X it out. You can X out that preview link. I'm sorry, you can X out the preview image. You'll still keep the link there, and you can upload a separate image to go along with the timeline post. Denise, I know you're going to cover some advice on the photography side, super important. But one of the tools I would just say, if you have not heard of PicMonkey, in the beginning when I showed you the throw love around like confetti and the coffee picture, filters. I mean, filters are absolutely a way to take a current photo and brighten it up. So PicMonkey is a free photo app that it is available for iPhone and Android. It's pretty easy to use. I like that it's free, and I say pretty easy because, like anything, there's a couple features to play with. But I would recommend you give that a go for an easy photo filtering app. Okay, videos. Love videos. So I love videos because social media loves video. And even if we're not thinking of a social media post, if you get an email, are you more likely to stick around and watch the video or delete it if it's just a photo? So algorithms on social media love video. They're constantly trying to reward users that serve video. So they give it preference. So that means, again, it's not a hard number, but if you post a photo or a video, the algorithms may be more likely to show more people your video than your photo. Captions, subtitles, whatever you'd like to call them. In the beginning of social, when video was new, it wasn't as critical. But now, with video content being served to us on every social network at every angle, people generally listen to they'll scroll through their social feeds with the sound off. So it breaks my heart when I see a brand go through so much work to make a beautiful video and then not have subtitles. It's almost like you never had the video posted at all. So I highly recommend that you go with including captions on your videos. Breaking long video clips into shorter ones. This is a big slide for me, lots to cover in the video slide. So with long form video, long form, 3 minutes, you might have 10-minute videos. Believe it or not, even a 1-minute video can be long form. What I'd like for you to do is leverage that. So whether you take a screenshot and you make a meme out of it, whether you do a blog post that has the longer story about something that was in that video, or whether you just take that video and shorten it into shorter snippets. So like 15-second video clips, taking a 3-minute video and making it a 30-second video. There is a tool that you can use. Denise, if I could have you go to the next slide, please. This is a quick screenshot to show you. QuickTime. QuickTime is a pretty normal, like fundamental tool that's on Apple or Mac. I'm sure you've watched many videos in QuickTime, even if you didn't realize it. This screenshot is just to show you that when you have a QuickTime video up on your desktop, you can go to the edit section. And as you see in this dropdown, there's a tool feature called trim. So as soon as you click trim, it's going to give you that progress bar. And if this video is 3 minutes long, you can start splicing and dicing and making the video shorter versions and then save those as additional clips. So that's with QuickTime. If I could, I can stay, actually, Denise, could I trouble you go back one more? Thank you. So I also want to point out, One Day is an app that you may be familiar with. It's helping make video easier in senior living. Another hack I will give you about video in general is that's where you might be using your iPhone to take some videos. The camera resolution is beautiful on these phones today. So a hack I would give you is have the Dropbox app installed on your phone. We know that it's Thursday, you took a few video clips, it's 5:30, like you're late, you're running around, you forgot to upload the videos somewhere, and then you never get back to them. Well, if you have the Dropbox app on your phone, I have found it's so much easier to just upload that video right from your phone to your Dropbox app. And then when you get back to your computer, it's more likely that you'll actually open the video file and make those edits. Okay, I'll have you go to the next one because we are now talking about another category of content, memes. So memes, I throw that term around all the time. I throw it around like confetti. Memes are a humorous image, video, piece of text, etc. that's copied, often with slight variations, and spread rapidly by internet users. So this is a nuance, but again, just thinking of your visual content. Someone might call it a picture with text overlay. Someone might say, well, a meme, oh, does it move? Does it not? This on the right is an example of a meme. It's a picture of a bird, very cute bird. And of course, it has the Caring logo. It has a quote that is very uplifting. And the whole intention is for the person who's reading it to get a smile out of it, to learn something, to be inspired. So with this particular meme, it's something that stylistically, it's good to consider size of font. With this picture, the picture is the background, but some memes you'll see have a consistent background. I will often use, we have a meme frame that has our Hey There social media logo in the bottom, so it almost looks like a notepad. And that's something that you can do very easily with the tool that I'm going to talk about in a moment. But really, when you're making those memes, before you hit publish, the last litmus test I'd ask you is really to say to yourself, would I share this? And if you wouldn't, then maybe take an extra pause and say, well, what's wrong with it that would make me not want to share it? Holding yourself accountable for that content. Okay, so this is a tool called Canva. So I'll talk through this in a minute. I do also want to mention, Denise, I know Caring provided some meme templates for Caring Star winners.
That's correct. All Caring Stars winners get social memes for Facebook or Instagram.
Perfect. Amazing if you have a meme to work with, a template to work with. But with Canva, so Canva, again, C-A-N-V-A, this is a tool that I pretty much only use on my desktop. They do have an app, but I have a free account. And when you're on Canva, the screenshot here to show you is you're logged in and you click create a design. And I always choose Instagram post because that is going to give you that nice square, already trimmed and specced out size visual. If you aren't aware, Facebook does own Instagram. So what can be posted on Instagram, if you're saying, oh, we're not on Instagram, that's okay, because you're probably on Facebook. So anything you might be sizing for Instagram will populate and look nice in a Facebook timeline post. So choose Instagram post, and then you'll go to the next screen. And it's going to take you to this dashboard, for lack of better words. So this dashboard, off on the left, you can see it's a little bit of an eye chart, but right at the top, there's templates, there's elements, uploads, text, and there is more. But the templates, Canva gives you plenty of plug and chug templates that you literally would drag and drop over to that white box, right? That's your blank canvas to start making a meme from. They're organized by season. There are so many that are free. There are many that are part of a paid account on Canva. In fact, the ones that have the little crown icon denotes it's part of a paid account. But you can use a template that Canva already makes. In fact, when I did the meme of senior living enhances the quality of life, that was the Canva meme with the beautiful flowers. Elements, if you want to get fancy and throw in a heart, a star, a shape, sky's the limit with elements. The upload section, that is where it's a good idea for you to upload your company's logo, because then it's there for you in your Canva dashboard and you can put it on a consistent meme to make it that much easier the next time. And then text is exactly text. Be very aware, especially since we're talking visuals, be very aware of making sure you're using consistent font with your company's style guides. I appreciate that not every font that's offered might be the exact match. Again, when you move up into a paid account, you're going to get more fonts to use. But you can also do a quick Google that says, which font is like this? And you might be able to find it right there. Okay, so moving on from memes, we will now cover GIFs, also pronounced as GIFs. So GIFs are an animated image because GIFs aren't really videos. If anything, they're more like flip books. I love that. I love thinking about those flip books. So a GIF is something that is lighthearted in nature, and it can really make Mary laugh, make her relate, it can stop her scroll. It's something that, like I said, when it has there is a best approach for using them. And starting at the beginning, where do you get them from? This adorable cat jumping is from a website called Giphy.com, very common site to pull a GIF from. And when you share this on social media as part of your content, maybe again, if one of your company values is about embodying trustworthiness or exhibiting honesty, then making sure that whatever story this visual tells is consistent with how your company actually is offline. And so I put this sample caption that says, our staff jumps for Mondays, right? Super cute. If I'm Mary and I see that your agency has a very happy staff that looks forward to Monday, doesn't dread Monday, that gives me a good feeling about your agency or community. But this is a nuance, but something, maybe a cautionary tale. You probably wouldn't want to say something like, our residents jump for Mondays. While your intention is good and it pairs nicely with this adorable jumping cat, you just wouldn't want Mary to ever think, oh, well, my mom is in a wheelchair and she doesn't jump for Mondays anymore. So again, something that you are all very sensitive to in your line of work, but making sure that you think through that every time you put a piece of visual content out there. Some final considerations. All right, as we've plowed through these sections here, I want you to stop and think, so how do I know if I'm doing this right? Like, what does visual content success look like? I always look at hard metrics, right? We are very data driven. We need to know, what are we doing well, what can be improved upon, and then have numbers to back that up. So your metrics are going to tell you impressions, engagements, link clicks coming from your content. And as part of your content strategy, you might see that the same topic shared as a blog perhaps didn't perform as well as the same topic shared as a meme. So I very strongly encourage you to be looking at your metrics. Otherwise, you're going to constantly feel like you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall. Anecdotal success. So I look at this as, Mary might not always say, I saw your Facebook post, that's why I called. And as a social media professional, I have this discussion all the time because I wish it were that simple. I wish that we could just say it was that blog or it was that review, the response to that review that made all the difference. But just keep in mind, there is anecdotal success. And whether you're in a call to schedule a tour with Mary, and she says, I heard on Facebook or I read it on Facebook. We can't always expect Mary to say it was this post on Tuesday at 3:15 that did it for me. Just listen to those sort of anecdotes because that really is telling you that, oh, cool, what we're posting is actually resonating and being remembered. On a hard metrics note, I know, again, you can do some trackable phone numbers and links, but like I said, it's really about, this is also kind of the art of digital marketing, of social and content marketing, that a lot of it is just listening to your prospective customer and hearing what's working for them. So thank you. That's it for now, Denise, at least on our content side.
Great, except for stick around because we have some information on caring.com profiles and how to optimize visuals for those. But Emily, did you want to extend your offer?
Sure. Thank you, everyone. So this is something that we are calling our Brain Trust Social Media Review. I say that because I have a team of women across the country that all do social media marketing for businesses. And so what we do, we take a look at your senior living or your home care agency. And of course, you'll get a call with me because I want to hear what are some of your pain points. But our team will put together some bullets of things we might think you could be doing differently. And if you want to claim this, we've got capacity for about 5. So you may send me a text, you may send me an email, you can leave me a voicemail. We've got space for 5. So the first 5 people that claim these, I'm very excited to share that they were scooped right up from April. We would be honored to have the opportunity to do a brain trust review for you.
Really fabulous offer. I hope folks definitely take you up on that. And we will circulate this contact information afterward for those of you who want to get more insights directly from Emily. And we're going to open it up to Q&A. But before we do that, I would just want to take you through some very specific information for your caring.com profile, some tips for success. This is brand new data that's being revealed for the first time publicly right here, right now. Our conversion optimization team did some directory analysis and found that listings that have more photos get more leads in a really big way. The listings with 8 to 15 photos got 16 times more leads than the listings that had less than 8. And the listings with 16 or more got 38 times more leads than the listings that had less than 8. And that's not even looking at the quality and content of the photos. That's just on volume. They're going to be doing more analysis on quality and content, try to get deeper there. So if you're not taking advantage of the photo feature on caring.com, I hope this data helps motivate you to do so. We recently worked with Senior Living Foresight to provide photography tips for senior living communities, but these tips also apply to home care agencies, and you'll see that they're aligned with the insights that Emily shared as well. So we talked about you need to plan ahead, craft the story you want your photos to tell, understand what seniors and their family members want to see on your caring.com profile. I'm going to share some suggestions from what we've seen work for our partners on the next slides, but here's some general tips. Have great lighting. Use good framing and composition. Aim for the highest resolution. Avoid blurry photos. And like the example Emily showed of the quilt, the color was great, but there was too many distractions in that photo. So avoid too many distractions. You want focus. You want no glare. And you definitely want the photo itself in focus. Now, some of you may be asking yourself, what does composition mean? I don't know what framing is in the photography world. Well, good news, there's tons of photography blogs on these topics that you can get quick tips. Just do a Google search, photography composition tips as an example. And if you're not able to hire a professional photographer, you can use the latest smartphone and use these tips to execute great photography flawlessly. Please take a look at your caring.com profile after this webinar. If you don't know how to find it, I'll provide our contact information. I can provide it for you. Consider what's best for your organization to showcase. Shown here are some excellent examples from real profiles on caring.com. These aren't images that you can take and use for your marketing, but instead that I hope will inspire your own original photos that are equally excellent. For senior living communities, our partner success team recommends that you have a couple photos of the apartment or bedroom, looking fabulous, of course, a common area where people gather, even better if you have one for outside and one for inside. Showcase your amenities, such as your beauty salon, your garden, your beautiful pool, the game room, or any other amenities that are specific to your community. And of course, include a photo of the exterior and property grounds as well. As photographer Bob Graham shares, you want people to imagine themselves living there and how wonderful that would be for them. So think about that as you're creating your storytelling with your visuals. Now, home care agencies also need to consider photography. Home care is a very personal experience and people-oriented, and the more you tell that story, the better. Here are some suggestions to help you. Show a companion caregiver and senior with their written consent, of course. If your organization doesn't already have that legal document, you can easily find that template online. You could also show your owners or staff, who will I, the consumer, be helped by? Photographer Bob Graham recommends, though, that you only show people who want to be photographed. You want them to be genuinely happy to participate, not reluctant participants who will look bored or dissatisfied. You can also show some of the services you offer, such as meal prep or light housekeeping. If you help with errands and have a branded car, show that. Now, like with senior living, I found some of the best photos on real home care agency profiles on caring.com as inspiration of great in-home care photography. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret because I know the home care agencies are highly competitive in ranking in our directory. If you do a search for your geo, you're going to find a lot of the home care agencies are leading with a logo as their #1 photo. So if you lead with a photo like one of these, that's really high quality, people oriented, you're instantly going to stand out in a sea of logos. My eyes as a consumer is going to go to you first. So that's a little secret tip for you as an incentive, hopefully, that the home care agencies will revisit the imagery they're choosing for their caring.com profiles. Okay, now before we open this up for Q&A, our directory product and engineering staff has these final tips for you. Choose landscape orientation for your photography. That does best on our website. And there's a specific pixel guideline of 768 pixels high by 1000 pixels wide to ensure quality resolution. And they shared that most modern smartphones have this resolution available automatically. If your resolution doesn't meet the guideline though, avoid the temptation to enlarge your image. That won't solve the problem, it'll make it worse. Instead, try taking the photo again with better, higher quality resolution. Another tip they said is avoid compressing photos when transferring them between devices. That can also negatively affect resolution and photo quality, excuse me. And as I covered at the beginning, more is better when it comes to photos, driving leads for your caring.com profiles. You're not one and done here either. Okay, so let's open it up to questions. So one of the questions we got was early on. Well, first, let me just make sure everyone understands that we got our #1 question that this is being recorded and we're providing the slides. We also got questions about the last webinar that we referenced on content marketing, and that is on our blog in the events section in the webinar archive, but I will also include it in the email follow-up. Okay, so we got several questions on those. Wanted to get those out of the way first. We also got a question for you, Emily. If Mary's on her phone or computer a lot, she might appreciate darker images to ease the brightness on her eyes. Do you have ideas of how we could evoke calm and a bright emotion with darker colors to alleviate headaches?
I guess my first thought is then you can be very mindful of what's in the photograph. If the lighting, if you're going with a darker lit image, then less is more in the picture. Denise, you and I talked about this a little bit. There is a time and place for a group of people versus 1 or 2 people. Back to the coffee image, a nice cup of coffee near a book as a background for a meme, perhaps, some flowers, not to make it too busy, because if you're telling me that the lighting would be on the darker shade to reduce eye strain, then I would just be extra mindful of what you have in the actual photo.
I agree. And all the other tips about glare and such apply as well. Great question. Okay, now, so one of the questions we got was content for in-home care when you can't take photos of your clients in their homes. So I covered that, but this question may have come in before before I covered that. But just as a refresher, you can cover your owners and staff. You can cover a branded car. You could have a staged meal prep without the senior at a separate location. There's quite a few different ideas for how you could convey your services without violating privacy of the client in their home. Okay, there was a question. Do you know, Emily, is PicMonkey available on desktop?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Here's a good question. What are your thoughts on protecting senior privacy? We don't post their pics. Do you have a good workaround for this? This is very important. Emily, did you want to give some thoughts on that as well, or did you want me to?
I mean, I'd love to hear your answer as well. Maybe the first thing I think of is it doesn't have to include their face. There's also the component of a zoomed in hands, a body, books, activities being done, if the goal is to not have the person's face depicted. Tell me a little bit, Denise, about with a photo release.
Yes.
Does that cover again, there's transparency in that what we're going to be taking a picture of in the first place. So I feel like if that expectation's set, that helps.
It's going to vary on the senior and the situation. So obviously anyone with cognitive health issues should not be approached for photography. They cannot legally sign that photo release. You want to make sure that you're legally covered. You have to have a photo release if you use someone's likeness in your marketing. So every organization has different policies. You obviously, if you're a local community, part of a larger organization, you have to follow your organization's policies with that. Emily provided some great alternative workarounds. And you may have noticed in many of the senior living photos, there weren't people in those photos because you're trying to help the person imagine themselves in that room. Right. So for the caring.com samples, at least, social media gets a little bit trickier, but the reviews, that's the consumer present without their likeness. Right. And they have published that information publicly. So that's another way around it, to present your customers without the visual of the person. But you may be able to find, as we have at caring.com, family caregivers who are willing to go on record publicly, sign the release, and tell their story on video about how much they love your services. You have to do the work to find them and to document the legal releases, but it can be done with some effort.
And to Denise's point, maybe it was the photographer's advice that at the end of the day, you only want to photograph people who want to be photographed in the first place. Otherwise, you won't even get the great end result. So love your points, Denise.
Great. All right. So there's some questions folks are asking about the photo release. I really highly recommend going through like nolo.com, which is a legal website, or through your legal department for guidance there into the deep details on that. You can also just Google some of the information as well. Neither Emily or I are a lawyer, but I can speak to experience from Caring. We definitely get a photo release in writing from anyone whose likeness we use in a video. And also we had legal releases for a meme series we did for family caregivers. So again, it took our community managers doing outreach to those individuals, getting their consent, and then getting the documentation in place. We worked with our legal team on those projects as well. So thank you for those.
I also would say, sorry, Denise, I know I saw that someone had mentioned that they loved the picture of the woman hugging the young girl, maybe her granddaughter, and you'd seen that photo before, maybe you've even used it before. I mean, that is a stock image. And while I said the trend has gone to transparency, like show me the exact food I'm going to eat, show me the exact person that's happy living in your community, there still is very much a place for a relevant stock image. So if that's a grandmother hugging a granddaughter, that stock image is such a different feeling than just a stock image of people looking bored. So again, the right stock image can be, if all else fails and you don't have a release, but you really want some humans photographed, you still can find a good stock image.
That's great. And this is a question for you, Emily, and I'm happy to add any additional, but should you pick attractive, younger elderly people to be photographed? Seems that the older people don't think of themselves as old. What's your guidance there?
Transparency. Again, if I marry and I'm shopping for my 85, 90, 95, I mean, when you say the older aging loved one, I'm not going to resonate with seeing someone who's 60. That doesn't mean that there isn't still a place for the photo of the 60-year-old, but I personally would not shy away from depicting happy residents just because of their age.
Yes, and attractiveness as well. I love that part of the question. I think it also depends on the type of community you are. So the active 55 plus community they're going to be looking for folks like me, right? Are they young, or is it the 80 plus set? So it just depends on your community as well.
True. And I even think from our experience with businesses that may sell products to children, right? There's a difference between visuals that speak to, oh, if I have a preschooler or if I have a tween. So a mix of photos depicting different ages and attractiveness, as you said. I wouldn't, wouldn't lead with attractiveness, but as you said, a variety of ages to really resonate with the customer.
Yes, and we're even having some participants chime in that with empathy and relate, they can relate. It's hard with age. Most old people don't see themselves as old. Even most middle-aged people don't see themselves as old. So a good mix, and the story you're trying to convey, and quality photos, right? Okay, so let's see here. Any other additional questions? So more people chiming in that they're more likely to see themselves 15, 20 years younger than they actually are. But remember the story you're trying to tell, right? And connecting with them and telling the story. Okay, Emily, we have a question. We have a person asking a question about if you have any suggestions or guidelines. You had referenced captions. So should they just follow the who, what, how, and why? Is there too long for a photo caption? Any tips you have on that?
Sure. So again, if there is a caption for a like a meme, right? The text overlay, if we're calling that a caption, I go less is more. Like that one sentence, right, of senior living enhances the quality of life. Boom, short and sweet. If you are making a caption for, say, a Facebook post, it's still okay for it to be a couple of sentences long, but a tried and true method is always shorter is better. It takes a lot of refrain to write a short caption, I know. But that's, if you can aim to say it in less words, that's always going to be a best practice for a social media post. With regards to captions for video, to be honest, when I have my photos captioned or subtitled, I have my video team help me with that. There are automatic tools that I think they're very low cost. I could get them to you, Denise. There's two companies that we've used. I'm throwing out numbers here. It might be like $15 for 60 minutes of transcription, and it will give you the actual captions that are then overlaid to your video. So it takes a little bit of video production or video editing knowledge, but it certainly isn't a massive, this is going to take, a month's lead time to get these captions. But again, just wanted to address the caption piece because I would tell you to really push yourself and include captions and subtitles on video that you put on the internet.
We also know that for those of you using Gmail, Google Drive, the Docs software, you can use that to transcribe videos as well. I've done it, or audio recordings, and it's very close to what is there. So you want to obviously spot check it, but that's another tool that's free that you could use. We only have a couple more minutes, and there was one more question about profiles on caring.com that I wanted to make sure to address. There was an individual who thought they were limited on the photos for their profile, and I have good news for you. I confirmed with multiple people of our directory team that there is not a limitation. You can add more photos. So contact your account manager to get those photos, and you tell them Denise Grubb sent you. Thank you for that question. We only have a couple more minutes, so I just want to be sure to wrap up. And anyone who didn't get their question answered, Emily or I can follow up with you afterward. So thank you for all of the questions. I just want to make sure we summarize here. Visual content marketing done right is more than just better photos. Emily covered a lot of things you need to think about and approach for visual content, approach with your visual content. One of those things is to keep your prospect top of mind every time and package the pertinent info in a visual way. Be sure you are consistently showing up as the same brand. I know who you are visually as well as in the written word. Visuals are more memorable for better or worse. She also shared, and thank you for this, Emily, reviews are a critical visual content asset to leverage. Let others do the talking for you. And I shared that on Caring, More photos on your profile can drive more leads and help you grow your organization. And I also provided tips for some suggestions of from the excellent profiles on our directory. Okay, here's how to reach us. We really appreciate you taking time today to participate in this webinar. I hope you will take Emily up on her offer. Emily, is there any final thoughts you wanted to share?
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for all of your time.
Okay, great. Now we are going to prompt you with a survey. We want to know what you liked most about the webinar, what you would suggest for future webinars. We are very audience oriented and we want to deliver content that's helpful to you. So bring on the suggestions and let us know what you thought. Don't be shy. We definitely appreciate your feedback and suggestions. And I mentioned it a couple times. We have a blog called partners.caring.com that has lots of information for you. And I hope that you find that resource helpful as well. We're going to be doing a refresh on that soon as well. So stay tuned on that. We hope to see you next time. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.